Just thought that was just like a joke. That's a big chicken. Now that I've decided to move in with Brian, there's so much to do before the boys can move in. But in the meantime, we're having fun. We're, doing new adventures and seeing new stuff.
That's a big dude. You're a big mother trucker.
So today we're like, let's take the boys to the zoo. He was like, well, there's a zoo in Tennessee that you can drive through and you can pet them and you can feed the animals. And I'm like, oh, that'd be perfect.
Where'd your bucket go?
This zoo is a family safe zoo. You just drive through. You don't get out of your cars or anything like that. You keep the kids buckled in. We bought 12 buckets of food and we're just driving through the zoo. Like, the boys are having fun. There's food all over the truck. And it's just a perfect day.
Hey, where'd you come from?
I think it's true what they say. Kids' laughter brings angels around. Or angel gets her wings or something.
What is that?
He leaped on me.
What do you think? You like the smart heart?
Jesus Christ. He got me good. He got me good. What are we doing?
Keep pressing on, baby. Like.
Brian starts zooming through the park looking for him. And I'm looking down at my arm and it's gashed open and there's pieces of fat coming out. And I'm like trying to stay calm for the boys in the back seat.
No, baby. Just breathe, baby. Breathe. You're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay. Breathe. You can hold it up over your heart too. Hold your arm up a little bit and dead pressure.
What are we doing?
A stunning event has seized the attention of believers and skeptics alike. In the Sacred Heart of Jerusalem, something unexplainable, something that transcends Logich has taken place. Reports flood in, strange trumpet sounds ringing across the night sky, a brilliant beam of light cutting through darkness, and a shadowy winged figure hovering in the glow. At the same time, a massive swarm of locusts has risen from the deserts, darkening the skies like a living cloud. What's unfolding may not just be coincidence or spectacle. Could this be a supernatural warning, a divine invitation, or the beginning of something even more profound? Layered with millennia of sacred history, it holds a central place in both the Old and New Testaments, serving as the heart of prophetic vision and divine narrative. It was here that Abraham nearly sacrificed Isaac, where David established his kingdom, and where Solomon built the first temple to house the presence of God. Centuries later, this same city would witness the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus Christ, sealing its role in salvation history. But Jerusalem's spiritual weight does not end with them.
There are two types of fans in the world.
It seems that you've been living two lives. One life, you're Thomas A. Anderson, program writer for a respectable software company.
It's the question that drives us, Neo.
The other life is with the computers that go by the hacker alias Neo.
It's the question that brought you here.
One of these lives has a future, and one of them does not.
You know the question, just as I did.
What is the Matrix? You have the look of a man who accepts what he sees because he's expecting to wake up. The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. What truth? That you are a slave, Neo. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage. A prison for your mind. Why my eyes, sir? You've never used them before. I've tried to free your mind, Neo, but I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it. The Matrix is a computer-generated dream built to keep us under control in order to change a human being into this. As long as the Matrix exists, the human race will never be free. Welcome to the real world. Can't go back, can I? No. But if you could, would you really want to?
Let me tell you why you did it.
When the Matrix was first built, there was a man born inside
Why you're here.
who had the ability to change whatever he wanted, to remake the Matrix as he saw fit. It was he who freed the person, taught us the truth. After he died, the oracle prophesied his return. And that his coming would hail the destruction of the Matrix, end the war, bring freedom to our people. That is why there are those of us who have spent our entire lives searching the Matrix, looking for him. I did what I did because I believe that search is over.
So you're here to save the world. Why do you say something like that?
Mr. Anderson.
Little piece of advice. You see an agent? You do what we do. Run.
What is he doing?
He's beginning to believe.
Goodbye. You got the gift, Mr. Anderson. And it looks like you're waiting for something. My name is Leo.
What?
The next life, maybe. Everything the Oracle told me has come true.
The Oracle told me my son would be the one. You can't be dead because I love you.
He is the one. Do you believe in fate?
No.
Why not?
Because I don't like the idea that I'm not in control of my life.
Everything you do is a choice.
No. Wrong. Choice is an illusion created between those with power and those without. How can I make a choice if you already know?
Because you didn't tell me how to make the choice. You've already made it. You're here to try to understand why you made it.
You are here because Zion is about to be destroyed.
The program Smith has grown beyond your control.
Believe you're fighting for something, or more than your survival? Is it freedom or truth, perhaps peace? Could it be for love? Only a human mind could invent something as insipid as love.
And emotion, designed specifically to overwhelm logic and reason.
Being the one is just like being in love. Love is a human emotion. No, it is a word. No one can tell you love, you just know it. What matters is the connection the word implies. And I need you. I see that you are in love. Can you tell me what you would give to hold on to that connection?
anything. Choice. The problem is choice. But we already know what you are going to do, don't we? What if I fail? What happens if I fail?
And Zion will fall.
Peace. He will always do what he believes he must do. As long as there is a single breath in his body, he will not give up. I'm off. He fights for us.
One way or another, this war is going to end. Tonight, the future of both worlds will be in your hands, or it is.
You can't win. It's pointless to keep fighting. Why, Mr. Anderson? Why? Why do you persist?
Because I'm choosing. You've never believed in war.
I still don't. I believe in him.
I didn't come here to tell you how this is going to end. I came here to tell you how it's going to begin. And I'm going to show these people what you don't want them to see. I'm going to show them a world without rules and controls, without borders or boundaries. A world where anything is possible. I have imagined this moment for so long. Is this real?
What about the others? The ones that want out.
Obviously, they will be freed.
Theo, thank you.
Will we ever see him again?
I suspect so. Someday.
So far, Israel has launched hundreds of ballistic missiles into Iran, striking 45 critical sites during Operation Rising Lion. Now, new reports out today indicate there is damage to the infamous underground nuclear facility in Natanz.
The former Israeli ambassador to the United States, Michael Oren, joins us shortly from Tel Aviv, and Fox team coverage is ready. Mark Meredith will have live reaction from the White House. We start, though, with our senior correspondent, Mike Tomedy, is live in Tel Aviv. Are Iranians fleeing Tehran amid this fighting? We know what's going on there in Israel. What's happening in Iran?
Well, as far as the missile attacks that are coming out of Iran, their size and intensity have decreased dramatically. We've had a couple of missile attacks today. One of them, just about an hour or two ago, could have involved as few as 2 missiles. The IDF says one of them was intercepted. Earlier this morning, there was a missile attack involving some 20 ballistic missiles out of Iran. 4 of those got through. The damage was minimal. It resulted in a bus that caught fire, a structure that caught fire, and several craters that were formed in the ground, but no injuries reported from that. Now, Israel's defense minister has taken to the airways with a warning for Ayatollah Khamenei, saying if he continues to fire missiles at Israel, he could meet the same fate as Saddam Hussein.
In my letter, I warn the Iranian dictator from continuing to commit war crimes, firing missiles at Israeli citizens. We should remember what happened to the dictator in the country neighboring Iran that took this path against the state of Israel.
And that is in line with the Truth Social post we just seen from President Trump, saying we know exactly where the so-called supreme leader is hiding. He's an easy target, but is safe there. We're not going to take him out, kill, at least not for now, but we don't want missile shot at civilians or American soldiers. Our patience is wearing thin. Now, Israeli fighter jets, meantime, have been busy in the skies over western Iran. Israel claims to have hit dozens of surface-to-surface missiles. The IDF says they also hit air defenses like surface-to-air. missiles and radar, backing up Israel's claim of air superiority over Iran. The IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency, has issued a new assessment of that strike at the Natanz nuclear enrichment facility, saying that facility took a direct hit from Israeli airstrikes, sustaining significant damage. That new assessment was issued after they reviewed satellite imagery of the Natanz facility. John, back to you.
Mike Tubman with the latest from Tel Aviv. Mike, thank you. Jilly?
All right, well, President Trump cut his G7 trip short as Israel and Iran broadened their attacks yesterday. He's expected to spend the day at the White House today, meeting with his National Security Council in the Situation Room. Mark Meredith is at the White House for us this afternoon. Hey, Mark.
Jillian, good afternoon to you. The White House and President Trump himself throwing cold water on the idea that the U.S. is going to be broaching a ceasefire between Israel and Iran anytime soon, even though there's growing political pressure on the White House to limit any U.S. military exposure to what's happening in the Middle East. The president cut his trip to Canada short by a day, given the development, the escalating violence between these two countries. And as you and John were just talking about, he's been quite active on Truth Social. Mike Tobin read one of the posts, but I wanted to read one of the other ones where he also said this, and he said the word we, because we now have complete and total control of the skies over Iran. Iran has good sky trackers and other defensive equipment, but it doesn't compare to American-made, conceived and manufactured stuff. Nobody does it better than the good old USA. While Trump has been active on social media, so is Vice President Vance. He issued a lengthy statement online, making it clear all options remain on the table. Very quickly, the debate over what U.S. involvement may or may not look like is engulfing Capitol Hill, especially among Democrats, who are seeing two very different trains of thought play out.
They have to be held accountable for what they've done. They're the ones that built and created the proxies like Hamas and Hezbollah and put our whole region in this kind of chaos.
I happen to believe that the U.S. being at war with Iran would be a colossal mistake. There is no national security imperative that suggests that we should.
And it's not just Democrats who are speaking out against the possibility of U.S. involvement in Iran. We know that today, House Republican of Kentucky was also Thomas Massey, was one of the ones who said he would try to limit the president's ability to use U.S. military against Iran without Congress's say-so.
As the president himself has been saying today, he might make a decision about how to engage here any moment. We'll be tracking it all afternoon. Thanks, Mark. John?
All right, let's go live to Tel Aviv, now bringing the former Israeli ambassador to the United States, Michael Oren. Michael, it's good to be with you. I want to start you here. This is the latest from President Trump. A couple of big posts on Truth Social. He said, first of all, we know exactly where the so-called supreme leader is hiding. He is an easy target, but he's safe there. We are not going to take him out in brackets kill, at least not for now, but we don't want missile shot at civilians or American soldiers. Our patience is wearing thin. And then a few minutes later, the president followed up with this, said unconditional surrender. Sounds like he's done talking to Iran. He just wants them to lay down their arms. He wants them to agree to end their nuclear program. Or it may escalate from here. What are you thinking in this moment?
I think it's extraordinary, in a truly historic moment. John, Jillian, always good to be with you. Who would have thought? This is one of the world's most wicked regimes. It's not just that they have tried to destroy the state of Israel again and again for the last 46 years. They are the world's largest state sponsor of terror, responsible for thousands of deaths of Americans around the world. They are the major backers of Hezbollah and Hamas that triggered this horrendous Middle Eastern war for the last year and a half. They supplied the drones and the rockets that kill Ukrainians. I can go on and on. This is a truly wicked, wicked regime. And when the president says total surrender, unconditional surrender, we couldn't agree more. And we hope it's not just about their nuclear program. It's the end of Iran's support for terror. It's the end of Iran's attempt to assassinate American leaders, including President Trump himself. I mean, who lets a regime get away with that? It's not just about their ability to enrich uranium. So it's an extraordinary moment. And we greatly appreciate the president's support for us throughout this crisis. It's providing us with munitions, even with jet fuel. And if the president decides that he, in the United States, wants to intervene directly, we're the last people who are going to say no.
Well, let me ask you this question. Can Israel accomplish its goals of eliminating Iran's nuclear program without U.S. help?
talk about eliminating, we certainly degrade it extremely. And if the Iranians do come back to the negotiating table, they're going to negotiate about dismantling the program and not just holding it. And the great thing is that we're discussing dismantling nuclear facilities that are already dismantled to a certain extent. And yes, we do not have strategic bombers. We don't have B-52s or B-1s, B-2s. We have these wonderful American-made jets, F-15s, F-16s, and F-35s. They've just done an extraordinary job. And the President praised American weaponry today, and we couldn't agree more. So again, we don't have things that can carry these bunker-busting bombs that weigh 30,000 pounds that can penetrate an underground facility like the facility at Fordo. We could take our time. We can begin to sort of peel off various layers of that mountain, but that would take a very long time. The United States can do it much more swiftly, cleanly, and effectively.
Well, the issue, though, is Fordo. And if there were to be a ceasefire declared and Fordo was intact, did you have any belief that the Ayatollah would actually agree to dismantle that, or would it be left intact and eventually, as he's done so many times in the past, drag this out, at the same time reconstituting and rebuilding his nuclear program so that in a couple of 3 years you'd be right back there where we are now?
Exactly. That's our feeling, too. That the whole system, the whole architecture of the Iranian nuclear program has to be dismantled and has to be verified, whether it's dismantled through an agreement or dismantled through kinetic measures, as they say euphemistically, by military measures. That is okay, too. That's the goal, though. But I would stress it shouldn't be just about the nuclear program. It has to be what we used to call, sort of euphemistically, Iran's malign behavior, as if Iran was sort of wrecking its room in some way. Iran, the war response has killed 100 Americans. In Beirut, as you remember, John, assassinated American leaders, everyone from John Bolton to Michael, the president himself. And by the way, they tried to assassinate me when I was in Washington. In Washington, D.C. They don't care. These people are terrorists, and they should not get anywhere near a nuclear facility.
So, we talk about the head of the state, and President Trump has said we know what the Ayatollah is. He's safe for now, at least. Apparently, there are reports that the president vetoed the idea that Israel would take him out. Senator John Fetterman was on Fox earlier today and said he thought that was a mistake. Listen.
I think they should have targeted him. Absolutely, taken him out. I think the way Israel operates, they just take out the leadership just like they did with Hezbollah. And they've already done that with the Iranian leadership. Just took them out even laying in their beds. And they didn't take down the whole building. They actually targeted where they lay in bed.
So what do you think about that, Mike? I mean, you took out the head of the military and the new heads of the military. They were just taken out this morning. You took out Nasrallah. You took out Haniyeh. You've taken out Hamas leadership time and time again on the ground there in Gaza. Why not just get rid of the Ayatollah? Or are you concerned with what might follow in the power vacuum?
Well, I think it's more that I don't think anybody in the state of Israel would shed a slightest tear if Mr. Khomeini would meet his maker. I think the maker would be very happy to see him. I think what I really thought, is my background is in military history. When the president said unconditional surrender, what does that evoke? It meant when Roosevelt said that about Japan in World War II. And when Japan surrendered, Roosevelt and the Allies said, well, we're going to keep Emperor Hirohito, even though he bears a tremendous amount of responsibility for the attack on Pearl Harbor and the horrors that Japan affected throughout the world during the war. We're going to keep him because we need his legitimacy to legitimize the surrender. That was the first thing that came to mind. Preparing for the day that Iran does agree to total unconditional surrender.
Maybe you do need a prominent leader in order to make it legitimate. Michael, always good to talk to you. Thank you so much. We hope that you and your loved ones stay safe through all of this.
Thank you for your support. Okay, bye.
Senator Lindsey Graham, I want to put up the headline from the president on Truth Social that he tweeted last hour. He said 2 words, unconditional surrender. What, Senator, does that mean to you in regards to the Ayatollah in Iran?
It suggests to me that the president believes that the nuclear program cannot be ended through diplomacy, that unconditional surrender is a sign, is a term often used for the war. And I talked to the president last night, I just want to say this. I'm so glad he is where he is at. He's the right guy at the right time. He's calm as he can be. He's resolved. He's steady. I think he's done a marvelous job of handling this conflict. And I believe the sun is about to set on the Iran nuclear ambitions. They need our help, Israel does, to take out Trudeau. They need help from us. I'm hoping the president will provide Israel the help they need to finish the job of the last nuclear site underground. And if we accomplish destroying the Iranian nuclear program, it will be historic for the region and historic for the world. This is a religious Nazi regime bent on purifying Islam, destroying the Jewish state, and coming after us. They're religious Nazis. And this regime does not need nor can they ever have a nuclear weapon. And Donald Trump is about to put a period on that statement.
So, Senator, we don't know for sure, but we believe that the meeting in the Situation Room with the National Security Council may be to decide whether or not the U.S. does dispatch B-2 bombers to take down the enrichment facility at Fordow. You believe firmly that the president should decide in the affirmative on that?
Well, I said from the very beginning, it is in our national security interest to make sure Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon. They're an existential threat to our friends in Israel. They really do mean death to Israel, but they also mean death to America. There's no doubt in my mind that if the Ayatollah had a nuclear weapon, he would use it to destroy Israel as part of his religious agenda. His religious agenda includes purifying Islam, going after Sunni Saudi Arabia, destroying the Jewish state, and coming after us because we're infidels. He is literally a religious Nazi. So it is my belief that President Trump understands the threat the Ayatollah presents to us, not just Israel, and that he will, at the end of the day, help Israel finish the job. And that will require, I think, weapons that Israel doesn't possess and maybe joint military operations.
There's also a question about what to do about the Ayatollah. The president put that on Truth Social shortly before we went on the air. He said, quote, "We know exactly where the so-called supreme leader is hiding. He is an easy target, but is safe there. We are not going to take him out, kill, at least not for now. But we don't want missiles shot at civilians or American soldiers. Our patience is wearing thin." You part ways with the president on that issue. You think he should be taken out?
Well, I trust President's judgment. Very much I trust his judgment. I think for now is a term the Ayatollah should understand in Trump world is ever changing. So what is the president trying to do? He's letting the Ayatollah know if you attack American interests, that's the end of you and your regime. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to make the case that ending Iran's nuclear ambitions is not only good for Israel, it's good for us. And they're the weakest they've been since 1979. This region since 1979 has been oppressed. This regime has been repressing their people, trying to destroy Israel and have American blood on their hands. I hope it's eliminated. I would like to see this regime fall, but I'm going to leave it up to the president as to what to do and when to do it. But I do know this. If we don't take out their nuclear program now, we'll all regret it. We're very close. Be all in, Mr. President, in helping Israel finish the job, and let's see where we're at after we neutralize their nuclear program.
And in terms of the Ayatollah, and whether or not he stays or he goes, with force on either the part of the Israelis or someone else. We were talking to Michael Oren, the former Israeli ambassador to the United States last hour, who thought that, like Hirohito at the end of World War II, Israel and the President of the United States might want an authority figure in place to sign the necessary documents for capitulation. Do you agree with that or not?
Well, that's not a bad point to make, and I don't want to overly analyze this. I just know since 1979, Iran has been the largest state sponsor of terrorism. They have American blood on their hands, and they'll want to wipe out our friends in Israel and eventually come after us. As to what should happen and when should it happen, I think it's imperative we finish the job regarding their nuclear capability as soon as possible. As whether or not the Ayatollah stays or goes, I'll leave that up to the president. But I want to let the American people know, Iran is incredibly wounded. Their command and control is virtually destroyed. They're in disarray, and they're very dangerous. I don't want to underestimate the danger of being involved in these operations. But the danger of Iran having a nuclear weapon or surviving as a state sponsor of terrorism is far greater than the danger of trying to end a threat. So that's the decision President Trump has to make. And I think he's the right guy at the right time to make that decision. But I'm hoping the sun is setting not only on the nuclear program, but the regime itself. Sooner they leave the world stage, the better the world will be. We can have true peace in the Mideast only if the regime falls, in my view.
Yeah, I mean, they do upset the apple cart in so many ways in the Middle East, and there are a lot of people there who believe that the reason why that region is not more stable is because of Iran. Saudi Arabia would like to see the theocracy gone. I know the Emirates would, and many other Arab states as well. But then there's the question of what happens if there is a power vacuum there. We saw all too well what happened in Iraq. We saw what happened in Afghanistan when the Taliban took over in literally a matter of hours. You've got competing factions as well who would vie to take over Iran. On the one side, you've got the Crown Prince, Reza Pahlavi, who would like to go in as an interim leader. On the other side of that fence, you've got the NCRI, the National Council for Resistance in Iran, which used to be the MEK, which a lot of people in Iran say would be worse than the Ayatollah. So what steps into the vacuum if the regime falls?
Well, I think what will happen is the Iranian people will know freedom for the first time since 1979. You know, people probably asked that about Hitler in the 30s. What would happen in Germany if we took him out in the mid-30s? Well, I wish we had, but we know what happened when they let him stay in power. And here's what I can say. Taking the Ayatollah's regime down is a good thing, not a bad thing. And I'm willing to risk what happens next because I know what's going to happen if they stay in power. They're going to keep trying to destroy Israel. They're going to keep fomenting terrorism, and they're going to try to build a bomb, and they'll use it until they're gone. Their goal is a religious goal, to destroy the Jews, to destroy Sunni Islam, to destroy us. These are fanatical religious Nazis. I'm willing to risk them leaving. I think it will only get better. But if they stay, I know exactly what's going to happen. It will be all hell to pay.
Senator, we're just trying to stretch a little bit here for what we believe is the beginning of the State Department briefing. So let's bring in Jillian.
Hi, Senator.
Hello.
Wanted to ask you about this interesting comment from Axios to build on what you were just talking about with John. They got some sourcing today on the president's thinking regarding his decision not to take out the Ayatollah, and a source very close to the president told them, quote, "It's the Ayatollah you know versus the Ayatollah you don't know." That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think the president has handled this very well. Taking out the Ayatollah, I understand both sides of that equation. But I do understand taking out the nuclear program is non-negotiable. That's non-negotiable for Israel, it's non-negotiable for us. And here's the question. Would the Ayatollah use a nuclear weapon as part of his religious agenda if he had it? I think the answer is yes. I don't think Rocket Man's going to attack America as much as I don't like Putin. I don't think he's going to attack America, but I do believe the Ayatollah is a religious figure who has a religious view that is very dangerous for the existence of Israel and us, and he would actually use a nuclear weapon. So let's don't overthink this. Let's take the nuclear program off the table, destroy it in perpetuity, then decide what to do next. But I do believe if this regime failed, it would be great for the Iranian people. It would be the best chance to have peace in the Mideast, and it would be history being made. President Trump is a historical figure already. He's about to go to another level of history making. 4 presidents have promised to make sure Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon. It will be Donald J. Trump who delivers on that promise very soon. Well done, Mr. President.
Well, so, sir, pulling up Reagan Institute study survey from the summer, they found that 84% of Americans want to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon. The rub, as you well know, is probably like 110% of Americans don't want to have another 20-year-long or even 20-month-long war in the Middle East.
No, we're not talking about 20 months. I'm not even sure we're talking about 20 days. Now, why do 84% of the people don't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon? Because they believe, like I do, they will use it. These people are religious fanatics. They're not normal. They take young girls off a bus and kill them in Iran itself because they're not covered. These people are religious fanatics with a religious agenda that needs to be stopped now. So if they get a nuclear weapon, they'll use it, and Israel's not going to even play with that possibility, nor should we. But here's what I would say to the American people. You know, endless war has been Iran since 1979. Since 1979, they've been trying to come after us in Israel. I'd like to end that endless war. But if you think radical Islam can be dealt with dealt with without being dealt with, you're wrong. You've got to stand up to these people. They mean what they say. When they chant death to Israel, they mean it. Death to America, they mean it. So we live in a world where we have to defend ourselves. I don't think it's going to be 20 months, but here's what I do believe. If we don't get it right now, we're going to pay later. If they survive all of this, God help us all.
But, sir, can you guarantee that? Can President Trump in any form, can you make the commitment that this would not lead to a longer war?
I can guarantee you that if the Ayatollah gets a nuclear weapon, he will use it. I believe that with all my heart and soul. So the men and women who serve, they're the ones going, not people answering a poll. And if you ask them, would you be willing to risk your life to stop the Ayatollah from having a nuclear weapon? All of them would say yes, because it makes their country, our country, safer. So we live in a world where you've got to confront problems. You want to avoid World War III? Learn the lesson from World War II. People in World War II appeased Hitler to the point that it got so much out of hand, we had a world war and 60 million people got killed. So we live in a world where you pay now or you pay later. Let's stop this threat before he gets a nuclear weapon. Let's end this reign of terror. Let's do it now. It's not going to take 20 months. But I can't guarantee you your freedom and your safety unless we're willing to fight for it. I can guarantee you this. If we don't fight for our freedom, we will lose it.
Yeah, well, Senator, you do have opposition within your own party to all of this. Marjorie Taylor Greene posting this on X on Sunday.
You could put them in a phone booth. You could put them in a phone booth. Those Republicans who are opposed to supporting Israel against Iran, you could literally put in a phone booth.
Well, phone booths come in different sizes, too. There's phone booth. Phone booth. I'm sorry, I thought you said a phone book.
Phone booth, yeah.
Phone booths are about the same size, although
No, I'm not worried about Republicans. Republicans are with Israel.
Let me just, if I could, put this out. Marjorie Taylor Greene says, anyone slobbering for the U.S. to become fully involved in the Israel-Iran war is not America First or MAGA. Wishing for murder of innocent people is disgusting. We are sick and tired of foreign wars. All of them. Yeah, take a look at this graphic. I don't know if you can see this graphic, Senator, but let me put this out there for the audience to see. It's believed that left to their own devices, without any kind of degradation, within 2 to 3 days, Iran could develop one weapon. Within a month, this is breeding like rabbits. Within a month, they have 11 weapons. Within 5 months, they have 22 weapons. And a lot of people believe that a regime like the Iranian one, the more weapons you have, the more likely you are to use them.
Yeah, I mean, I like Marjorie, but to be honest with you, she doesn't understand the threat, in my view. If you don't understand that Iran, a religious theocracy, religious Nazis, would use a nuclear weapon to kill all the Jews, you don't listen to what they say. They're a threat to us. They're a threat to the state of Israel. It is not in the world's interest to give this religious fanatic a nuclear weapon. Somebody's got to deal with it. Donald Trump is the right man to deal with this. I think he's been very measured. He has 60 days. Steve Witkoff went over there 3 or 4 times. They tried very hard to get Iran to the table. I appreciate reaching out and trying to do this diplomatically. I appreciate Witkoff. I appreciate President Trump trying. Well, it's not working. You can't have peace unless both people want peace. And what the Iranians want is to kill all the Jews and kill us. And the answer is no, we're not going to let them do that. So the sun is setting on this regime, and that's a good thing. The sun is setting on their nuclear program. But to every American who enjoys freedom and believes that we should be helping Israel, sometimes you have to fight. Sometimes you have to fight back, and this is one of those times.
Senator, we thank you for spending time with us as we await the State Department.
Now reporting live from the Pentagon with the very latest. Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Martha. It's notable that President Trump said we when referring to Israel's control of the airspace over Iran, which is now allowing Israeli warplanes to operate freely, having knocked out nearly all of Iran's air defenses. The line increasingly blurring between U.S. and Israeli efforts to destroy Iran's nuclear sites The president is currently meeting, as you said, with his national security team in the Situation Room. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth spoke to Jesse Waters last night about where the president stands.
His position has not changed. What you're watching in real time is peace through strength and America first. Our job is to be strong. We are postured defensively in the region to be strong in pursuit of a peace deal.
But the president himself said today he is no longer focused on those negotiations. The Pentagon has ordered to the Middle East more air assets to include F-22s, F-16s, and F-35 fighter jets, and an extension of those already based in the region, and a second aircraft carrier strike group. The U.S. military has been sharing intelligence with Israel and providing air defense to Israel. More than 20 Air Force tankers, refueling tankers have deployed from the U.S. to Europe. All eyes now on Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri, which is home to the B-2 stealth bombers. If the president orders them to fly, it's a 30-hour round trip to the Middle East and would require a lot of mid-air refueling, hence the pre-positioning of all those refuelers to Europe. Our colleague Peter Ducey, Martha, is reporting that the president's top intelligence chief, Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, was not invited to Camp David on June 8th, where the intelligence and plans were being discussed. She was on National Guard duty at the time, but U.S. officials tell Peter she was never invited in the first place. Her aides tell us that, in fact, she has been in every meeting at the White House since. Martha?
Jennifer, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Martha McCallum, and this is the story. Breaking right now, President Trump in the Situation Room with his top security advisors as he considers his next decision, which may be one of the most consequential of his presidency. Axios reporting that the president is weighing greenlighting a U.S. strike against Iran's nuclear facilities. We have heard sirens on and off throughout the day in parts of Israel as U.S. military assets are heading in large numbers to the region. We have seen images of a massive move towards the Mediterranean and the Red Sea as well. General David Petraeus is here, but first we go to Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yingst, live on the ground in Tel Aviv. Trey.
Martha, good afternoon. As we speak, sirens are sounding in the northern Israeli city of Haifa amid a new incoming ballistic missile barrage from Iran. The IDF tonight says they have destroyed 40% of the Iranian ballistic missile launchers, but throughout the day and night, we continue to see these types of strikes targeting Israeli population centers. I spoke with Israel's former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, and he spoke about the strikes that took place last year. The he is telling Fox News we're laying the groundwork for the operation that is currently unfolding as we speak in Iran. Take a listen to what he had to say.
Their experience with us is not good. And if you would ask me whether it was a good idea to start a war against Israel when they did it test on April 14, 2024, with 100 ballistic missiles and hundreds of drones and UAVs, I'm sure that they will tell you that it was a wrong decision.
They may say Israel started it first, though, on April 1st with the strike in Damascus, Syria.
Well, the distance between Tehran and Beirut, or Tel Aviv, is 1,000 miles. What is it that the Iranians are looking for in this region besides creating a war against Israel through their agents, their proxies?
Gallant is calling on the United States to get directly involved in the strikes against Iran. We will find out more in the hours ahead about the U.S. assets that are currently deployed across the region. I also spoke earlier today with an Israeli pilot who has been striking Iran. He says now the country has air superiority over the entirety of Tehran, the Iranian capital. He also said that when they were flying initially over Iran, they could see Iranian pilots moving their fighter jets to the central part of the country, trying to evade these Israeli airstrikes. But tonight, the Israelis say they are even going after positions deeper into Iranian territory. Martha?
Okay, thank you very much. Trump and his national security team has concluded. Chief Washington correspondent Mike Emanuel live at the White House. Time out.
Good afternoon. Yeah, we have learned from several senior officials that the meeting with President Trump's national security team in the Situation Room wrapped at 3:46 p.m. Eastern Time. So after a couple of hours of meeting, we were told earlier today that the possibility of U.S. intervention, possibility of airstrikes is on the table, and certainly President Trump has been taking a much tougher stand with the Iranian regime, basically saying that he wants unconditional surrender, and even threw out the idea that the Ayatollah Khamenei could be at risk, saying, I'm not going to take him out just yet, but basically left the possibility open that the United States could take out the leader of Iran and potentially pursue regime change. And so we know the president wanted a peaceful resolution to this. He bristled when French President Emmanuel Macron suggested that he just wanted a ceasefire. The president said that Macron tends to get things wrong, and so we are awaiting a readout, but obviously a critical meeting that the president came home from Canada overnight to oversee here at the White House, had that after about a couple of hours, and we hope to get a readout shortly. The president obviously has been active on social media today. We'll see if he puts out a statement. Martha?
Yeah, I bet we will. Mike, thank you very much. Obviously a very important meeting, a lot at stake, so we'll bring you back when we get it.
There is a furious debate online, on the right, for Republicans. Is it America first to militarily intervene in Iran? President Trump answered that question to The Atlantic. He said, well, considering that I'm the one that developed America first, and considering that the term wasn't used until I came along, I think I'm the one that decides that. It's an interesting perspective. It's an important perspective. What dictates America first? I'd love to lay out for you my understanding of America first. I'd love to start with what I know America first not to be. I never understood America first to be isolationist. I don't think America first has ever been anti-war. I don't think it has ever been pacifist. I certainly don't think America first has been sympathetic to Iran, nor sympathetic to Russia. No, I think America first has always asked an integral question. Is whatever we are serving the interests of Americans? On that note, I would suggest this is also not America first.
Today's Tel Aviv, tomorrow's New York. I understand America first. I don't understand America dead. That's what these people want. They chant death to America. So we're doing something that is in the service of mankind, of humanity, and it's a battle of good against evil.
Yesterday, Tel Aviv. Tomorrow, New York. Says Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel. It is my feeling that plays to fear within America and doesn't answer, once again, the strategic, the rational question asked, I would hope, by every single American. How does this serve Americans? But we're also not interested in the narrative that America is also the bad guy, that we're always the bad actor on the world stage. This isn't ideological and it isn't philosophical. It's simply cold and rational, that our elected representatives and our government are there to serve the interests of Americans. So with that, I would suggest to you, in analyzing whether or not something is America first, ask two questions. One, what is the interest of Americans? Two, what does it cost? Those two questions have never been answered when it came, at least not any adequate answer when it comes to Afghanistan or Iraq, and have never, in my opinion, been answered adequately when it comes to Ukraine. But it's a different calculation when it comes to Iran. For 40 years, Iran has been an avowed enemy of the United States. They have chanted death to America, and by some estimates, it's not just been rhetorical. They've helped supply the weapons, the bombs, and sometimes the manpower to literally kill thousands of American soldiers. Taking out an avowed enemy, you would think, would serve American interests. What does it cost? Right now, suggestions are that we're only playing a defensive effort in support of Israel. What if the ask is that we play offense? Well, if that's B-2 bombers dropping bunker busters on a nuclear facility in Israel, that's much different than dropping troops into Iraq or nation building in Afghanistan. Those are serious costs that you and I and anyone running the American government should today consider with a great amount of humility. But nothing Donald Trump says, nothing President Trump says, is off the table.
Is there any guarantee that if the U.S. did get involved militarily, that a U.S. bomb could destroy Iran's nuclear program and facilities? If the U.S. got involved militarily, it would actually wipe out Iran's nuclear program? Or what is your assessment of that?
Look, wars can spiral out of control. Alliances can be marshaled. War is unpredictable. And we should always, as I do, I hope today here with you, approach this with humility. But as of now, the ask, the demand, and the cost is not high in taking out the interest that Americans might have of an avowed enemy in Iran. But the good note is, we have an elected president who does seem to define America first. He is not ideological. He is not philosophical about this. He is strategic in making deals that serve Americans. And I thought Vice President J.D. Vance laid it out well today. He said, look, I'm seeing this from the inside. And I'm admittedly biased towards our president and my friends. There's a lot of crazy stuff on social media. So I want to address some of these things directly on the Iran issue. First, POTUS has been amazingly consistent over 10 years that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. The president has shown remarkable restraint in keeping our military focus on protecting troops and protecting our citizens. He may decide he needs to take further action to end Iranian enrichment. That decision ultimately belongs to the president. And of course, people are right to be worried about foreign entanglement after the last 25 years of idiotic foreign policy. But I believe the president has earned some trust on this issue. I echo that sentiment. This president of the United States does understand the analogy of what it takes to arrive at the conclusion of whether or not something serves America first. Let's continue the conversation now with journalist and author Batya Ungur, Sargon and Foundation for Defense of Democracy President Chris Knight. Thank you for being with us here today, both of you. Batya, I'd love to start with you. Do you think any military action in Iran serves to answer the question of whether or not it serves America first?
So first of all, thank you for that very beautiful opening there. You really nailed it. I think Secretary Marco Rubio put it really well in his confirmation hearings when he said that every decision made by this administration would be in response to asking three questions. Does this make America safer? Does it make America stronger? And does it make America more prosperous? And the way that you laid that out, Will, was exactly in response to those three questions. Obviously, supporting our allies defensively against a foe, I think, meets the standard of those three questions. Regime change, I think, obviously does not. And the question is, where is the line there? And I just completely agree with the Vice President. President Trump has earned the right and earned the credibility to walk this fine line of being both pro-Israel, but always putting us and, of course, our troops first.
You know, the note on regime change needs to be explored, Cliff, because if we're being completely honest, that is what every party is discussing. That is what Israel is discussing, and that's what's being discussed by the United States. The question then becomes, is that worth the cost for America? Any potential involvement for America, and we should recognize that we've been particularly bad at regime change and nation building over the last quarter of a century. But we have to answer the question for Americans. Is regime change in Iran America first?
Yeah, all good points by you, by Batya, certainly by J.D. Vance, by the President. I think the President is pursuing absolutely an America First policy here. He's letting Israel do what it can do as capably as it can, and it's showing itself to be very capable in terms of combating a common enemy. If the President decides he wants to take out the Fordo, and I'm not sure he will, but at least when he's talking about it, nobody can say he's simply bluffing. He will decide to do that because this means no boots in the ground. This means no regime change necessarily. It means, what does it mean? It probably means a pilot goes, drops 2 bombs, as you've described, from the B-2, very big bombs, 30,000 pounds. And then he turns around and goes home to Missouri and has breakfast with his family in the morning. And what does he do by that? He stops this regime, which for 46 years has been shouting and chanting death to America, from getting the capability to make good on those threats with nuclear weapons and intercontinental ballistic missiles, which